Hello, One Piece enthusiast. I'm the One Piece nerd, and today let's talk about Bonnie and how much she knows about Reverie and the world in general. Before I move on to the content, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps the channel a lot, and if you have, let's move on. So, when talking about Bonnie and how much she knows, it's been hinted at briefly that she knows a lot more than we think she does, and little bit less than we think she does. A lot of people have theorized that Bonnie is someone who knows about the Void Century. She's lived for 800 years. All of this seems highly unlikely. She has no idea about the existence of Eam, and she has no idea about Joy Boy, whatever. We haven't got any sort of hints like that would tell us that she's from 800 years ago. But one thing's for sure, she knows a lot more than we sort of anticipated in the bottom line. What I mean by that is, in the last chapter, Bonnie just casually hinted at knowing Sabo. She said, I met Sabo at the Reverie. Don't worry, I'll spill the beans later. Now, I did comment on it on my chapter review. I said that it's sort of surprising about how she knows, it's not surprising she knows about Sabo, considering she's affiliated with Kuma, but the fact that she knows that Luffy and the gang knows about Sabo, that is a little bit too much to know for an outsider of Revolutionary Army. And this, even in the Revolutionary Army itself, is little known about, Sabo having connections with Luffy. No one knew about it until Sabo got his memories back, and now probably a lot of them do. So for Bonnie to know that, it suggests that she has been a part of Revolutionaries for a very, very long time. She's not an active member, could be an active member, undercover pirate, but she knows a lot more than we think she does. It's safe to suggest that she knows the ins and outs of the Revolutionaries, and now that I think about it, the only reason she would come to Dr. Vegapunk right now to know about Kuma is exactly the time when the rescue of Kuma is over. Dragon and the Revolutionaries now have Kuma in possession of them, and now it's time to get back Kuma's memory. So, who's the perfect person to send someone like that? Bonnie, duh, because she's probably the only one among the Revolutionaries who has had a direct contact with Dr. Vegapunk in the past. She said that, I've seen Dr. Vegapunk when I was a kid, and which means they do have some sort of a personal connection. If not, I don't mean like family or friend, but she knows her. She knows who Dr. Vegapunk is, and that could mean that, she's doing the work for the Revolutionaries, considering they have sort of the same goals. Now, let's talk about Reverie. We've been debating about the fact that Luffy and the gang needs to know about what happened in Reverie. Everything related to Alabasta, Vivi, Sabo, Kuma maybe, and, Kuma's already been talked about with Luffy. He doesn't seem to care, but for Sabo, Vivi, and everyone else, if Bonnie has been there as the queen of the Sorbet Kingdom for a very long time. I would think that she's actually even been to the Reverie itself, where the discussions happen. I feel like it's likely that she was there, and she knows whatever went down in the political range, because she went as Queen Dogger. As for the fact of how much she knows about what happened with Sabo, how did he get separated, where is he, and Vivi and whatnot, let's talk. So for Vivi and the whole Alabasta incident, if she was there until the sort of end of Reverie and a little bit after that, because if you remember, Shirahoshi and the others had no idea about what went down in the Alabasta Kingdom, because they had no idea about Cobra's assassination and Vivi went missing. Shirahoshi had no idea, which likely meant that it happened after Reverie. Kingdoms will leave earlier than expected, after the Reverie ended. Maybe a few of the kingdoms remained at Marizua for a little bit longer, not much longer because it's the Holy Land, but a little bit longer, and that's when everything went down. If Bonnie was there up until that point, I would think she did, because when you remember the events at Reverie, The fight between the admirals and the revolutionaries happened a little bit after Reverie or within Reverie, which means Bonnie was present. Bonnie was definitely present to see it. She probably knows that Kuma is now with the revolutionaries, and why else would she come to Dr. Vegapunk, not rescuing Kuma by herself, but rather coming to Dr. Vegapunk for the memory? I would think that, she knew the rescue operation was done. She's seen it. She's seen the revolutionaries fight against the admirals, and maybe even the assassination of King Cobra. That is also likely to be the case, because when would you want the world government to make an assassination move in a conflict, in like this sort of a world setting? You would make it when the conflict is at its best, where you could just pull it off by saying so and so was sort of taken down in the crossfire, the same way it happened with King Cobra. We know Sabo didn't do it. Obviously, it was Im-sama that ordered it. And as for creating conflicts, that was the only time, and Bonnie should definitely be there. Lucky that Bonnie survived, because of how she can change herself with different ages. I would suggest she's seen everything. I don't think she's seen Im-sama, because if she did, she wouldn't be so calm about it. If you remember Sabo, when he started to say stuff about Im-sama and the empty throne, he started freaking out. And he had to relay the information to someone ASAP, because no one in the world had any idea about it other than Sabo himself and the 5 elders. Now, with all that being said, Bonnie doesn't know that much, but she knows that Sabo was there, the revolutionaries was there, a fight happened, and maybe even events at Alabasta. Now, could she get into detail as to where Sabo is? Maybe, perhaps, because everything is coming down to Lucia Kingdom. Also, speaking of Lucia Kingdom, I'm going on tangents because there is very little to know about how much Bonnie knows, because there have been slight hints, and I'm just speculating, but I want to add on this as well because I cannot, make a separate video on this. Dr. Vegapunk, Lucia Kingdom, the revolutionaries, and Im-sama. Like, what is going on? So, Lucia Kingdom was destroyed for a reason. We do not know the reason as of yet. At first, it was hinted at that it was probably because, not hinted at, but we speculated that it was because of Sabo, that the kingdom was destroyed. It was definitely not. The Lucia Kingdom was fated to be destroyed after the Gorosei met Im-sama, when they said a light needs to be extinguished. That's when he ordered for the assassination of King Cobra, destruction of Lucia, and the beheadment of Luffy. All of these decisions were made immediately at that point, and that is what I believe. So, Sabo being there was just fate. It was just coincidence, pure coincidence. Now, Sabo is most likely alive, but now that we know that CP0 is coming to assassinate Vegapunk as well, and, Rob Lucci said that it doesn't have something to do with Lucia Kingdom. Kaku said, you're a smart man, you're not supposed to deal with this sort of stuff because you're not supposed to interfere or know about this. You shouldn't even try to know about it. It's sort of like, sacred knowledge, like the Void Century. It would suggest that something was in the Lucia Kingdom, aside from the revolutionaries basically conquering it, that made Im-sama destroy it. There might have been influential figures, there might have been people, or there might have been something that was very, very sort of what I might call very secret or very secretive information that the world government did not want the world to know. And there was also a certain panel I would also address when it comes to the Lucia Kingdom, was when the common folks, when they captured the king and the princess, Connie and her father, when they were captured, the commoner folk said, admit to your crimes, we do not want to finish you off, and if you just admit to your crimes, we're good to go. Which means the Lucia Kingdom was involved in something very, very secretive that the world should not be knowing about. The king was involved in some sort of illegal dealing so bad, so heinous to the point where the world government did not want that to let slip. Now, this is my hypothesis again. The king did something with the world government that is illegal, that is way too illegal and way out of the ordinary. I would say this is not even slavery, but even worse than that. And Im-sama sort of predicted that now that the revolutionaries have taken over the Lucia Kingdom, it is likely that the information will spread, and if that information spreads, the propaganda of the world government would be over. And that is my theory onto why, the Lucia Kingdom was destroyed. And I feel like Dr. Vegapunk has something to do with it as well. As to what that is, I do not know. But one thing's for sure, that Dr. Vegapunk cannot be trusted by anyone. Because if you think about it, he's been doing whatever he wants to do. He just wants the research funds and make sort of creations for the world government. At the same time, he's helping out Kuma, who was a revolutionary army, and has interest in the Straw Hats. All of this makes very little sense. I doubt Vegapunk's allegiance to the world government. And whatever happened at Lucia, it's about to be very crazy. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. Have a great day, and peace.